Hilaria Baldwin taking to Twitter to respond to allegations of cultural appropriation after reports surfaced claiming that she faked her Spanish accent and lied about being born in Mallorca, Spain. Take a listen.
I'm really lucky that I grew up speaking 2 languages, and I'm trying to raise my kids so that they speak 2 languages too. And that's something that's very important for me, especially having my family abroad. In this country, I would use the name Hillary, and in Spain, I would use the name Hilaria. And my family, like my parents, they call me Hilaria. My whole family call me Hilaria. Ultimately, this boils down to this idea where this is a country of a lot of different cultures. And I think that we can be different parts of ourselves with different people. And I'm somebody who I feel really lucky that I grew up with 2 cultures. I grew up speaking 2 languages. I grew up...
So Hilaria's Instagram post here has been viewed more than 1 million times. She refuses to apologize, and she maintains that she has done nothing wrong. Joining us with more on this scoop is DailyMailTV senior correspondent Alicia Quarles. Alicia, great to see you. A lot of people with a lot of feelings about this, including Betty Wen, who's been filling me in about it. So, Alicia, have you ever interviewed or covered stories involving Hilaria Baldwin? And do you think the Instagram post we just saw there was damage control?
I've definitely done a lot of interviews and shoots with Hilaria, from dancing to cooking. We have mutual friends. I will say, when I've been around her accent has always been very strong. So we all assumed that she did come from Spain. So it was a little bit alarming to find out she went by Hillary in high school, never really studied in Spain, grew up in Massachusetts. Her father traces his roots back to the pre-Revolutionary War here in America. It's just, it's very disjointing.
Yeah, I mean, because we were just listening to her right there on Instagram, and I got to ask you the difference. She didn't really have an accent then, but when you worked with her, you said she had a pretty strong accent.
She definitely had a strong accent. Let me say something. Also a really, really kind, nice woman. Definitely had a strong accent. So stuck to that story that she got here at 19 to study. So that's who you assume that she's from Mallorca. And then also, you know, her Wikipedia page, her former CIA agents page said that she was born in Spain.
Right.
So everything just seemed to point to the fact that she's Spanish.
Well, and then she was on the Today Show and couldn't pronounce cucumber, right? Which is kind of odd because you grew up in Boston. Your mother is a Harvard grad. I mean, it's almost as if she was trying to personify something that she wasn't.
And I think that's the difference here. You know, she talked about in her video loving the culture, and that's ethnicity, right? That's not race. You can identify with an ethnicity. Her father studied Spanish. She said she grew up going there, but come to find out it's vacations. So you can identify with a culture, but don't take ownership and pretend that you are Spanish if you're not.
Alicia, how did all of this start?
It started from an Instagram user named Lenny Briscoe, who put out all these clips of Hilaria on different shows saying, wait, where's the accent? She put out that cucumber clip that he was talking about. And then from there, people that went to high school with Hillary, that's her real name, Hillary Hayward Thomas, came out and they said, look, we were all waiting for this to come out. Very nice woman, but she didn't have an accent. She didn't grow up in Mallorca. She's from Boston, and she went by Hillary.
Okay, but she's from Boston. Are her parents of Spain descent?
They are not. Her mother actually goes back several generations in the Massachusetts area, Anglo-Saxon. Her father, as I said, his people go back to the American Revolution, and they're from Nebraska. So as far as we know, there's no Spanish descent in her blood. And she also didn't say that in the video. She just kept saying, you know, we're made up of a lot of different things. She had said, yes, there's Spaniard in my blood. That'd be different. But if that's not who you are, you can't appropriate a culture for your own personal gain if your brand is authenticity.
Well, Alec has come to her rescue to some extent on social media, speaking very boldly about it, and then an expletive as well. Ireland, his daughter, come as well to support her stepmother. So she is getting some internal support. But what are you hearing out in the stratosphere there? Because this is a woman, right, who a lot of us knew her originally as a yoga instructor here in New York City. Then she married Alec, and then she started to acquire this fame.
Yeah, I commend Alec in Ireland for coming out and supporting her. Alex being Alex, so he's cursing people out. I don't really respect that, but that's just who he is. And to your point, yeah, we knew her as a yoga instructor first. A lot of people went to her. She got this fame. The thing about Hilaria, she's a very, very nice person. I think for people that are upset about this, it's because they bought into this authenticity, this yogi, this person that has, very transparent life. And when the facts aren't adding up and her explanation wasn't very clear, people get upset about that.
Alicia, you mentioned that, people in her former life, college, high school, have said, look, something does not seem right. A bigger topic here, what does it mean that this has been going on and she has been allowed to profit off of this persona for many years, and we are just finding it out? What does it mean that this has been allowed to perpetuate itself for this long?
Well, that's the bigger issue. So many of us know immigrants are immigrants, that come over here, that you get dogged out for having an accent. You have to work that much harder. So if in fact she's misappropriated this whole story and just put on this fake accent, that's a slap in the face that people have to come over here and actually work really hard and get mistreated for it. And that's taken away from their story, I think.
So what kind of fallout do you think there's going to be from this? I mean, is it really going to matter to her? I mean, after all, she's still married to Alec, right?
I don't think there's going to be a big fallout, to be honest with you. If you look at her comments, she does have a lot of community support. People do believe in her. I think ultimately, though, she's going to have to come all the way clean because, again, the facts still don't add up. And people love a redemption story.
Yeah, and back to the appropriation, which is the bigger picture here. Hilaria is being compared to Rachel Dolezal and Jessica Krug, who are two women who became just really infamous for their cultural appropriation, despite the fact that Hilaria's family does currently live in Spain. So I think that's where some people get confused here.
Well, I think the confusion is because her family moved to Spain about 2011, 2012. She was out of high school by then, so just graduated. Now she's claiming that she moved from Mallorca at 19 to go to NYU, but by all accounts, her parents moved to Mallorca and her brother, but she didn't really live there like that to acquire this accent. So I don't know if it's going to be a Rachel Dolezal situation that was appropriating race. She's appropriating race and culture to a certain extent if all of this turns out to be true.
All right, Alicia, there's a lot to this story, and I'm sure it's going to have legs for days here. Daily Mail TV news correspondent, thank you so much for spilling the tea with us. We appreciate it.